You don't go into the generalized stress response to the same degree. And you're activating your exploratory and seeking systems, which are dopaminergically mediated and that involve positive emotion. So if you can face something voluntarily rather than having it chase you, it's way better for you psychophysiologically. So that's partly why, well, it's worthwhile to go find the dragon in its lair instead of waiting for it to come and eat you. So, and especially when you also add the idea that if you go find the dragon in its lair, you might find it when it's a baby instead of a full-fledged bloody monster that is definitely going to take you down. Don't avoid small problems that you know are there. Face them, because they'll grow into big problems all by themselves. And you can think about, imagine the tax department sends you a notification. You owe them like $300. Well, it's that's annoying. Maybe you don't even want to open the letter. Or maybe if you do, you just put it on the shelf. But that damn thing doesn't just sit there like a piece of paper on the shelf, right? You ignore that for 5 or 6 years, it's going to become attached to all sorts of horrible things. And if you ignore it long enough, you get the idea. It's going to turn into something that is completely unlike the little piece of paper that it's written on. And many, many problems in life are like that. You'll see that they pop their ugly little head up, and and you might want to turn away. You might not want to think about it, which is the easiest way of turning away, right? You just don't attend to it. If you could have your life the way you wanted it in 3 to 5 years.
All right. So that's video 1, or clip 1. Just a second.
Edit.
They read in a book.
Right, that they read in a book somewhere.
I apologize for that. Here's clip 2.
We're not super interested in talking to you, first of all, but basically we're here to shut down an event that is promoting the patriarchy.
You're doing it really well. Good job.
Very frustrated. I was studying all today, and I took time out of my studies to come here. I'd like to ask him why he's here.
I'm not sufficiently convinced that I'll receive an answer that isn't what I presented.
2 of my friends committed suicide, and I want the peace of understanding why that happened.
Wow. When did this happen?
It happened about 2 years ago. It was one after the other like that.
Did you expect to get some addressing of suicide issue at the talk here?
Yes, I did.
What I have to ask on that, and I'll ask you, is why this space to talk about that. Feminism, for example, offers lots of spaces to talk about mental health issues, talk about depression, both in men, women, and people who don't identify within the binary.
I think everybody's voice should be heard. I wondered why the security was trying to keep me back, and I think it's for my own safety.
So you believe it's hate speech, right? I've never heard of him before. I don't even know what he's. I never heard of him before.
We invite you to educate yourself.
So I just wanted to listen to him. I just wanted to see what this guy is and what he's talking about. But now I can't get in.
You should be fucking ashamed of yourself. You're fucking scum. You are fucking scum. Fucking rape apologist, incest supporting, woman hating, fucking scum. Scum. Yeah, just another.
I just want to listen to someone else's opinion. I'm not even on a side here. I just listen to as many people as I can.
You know what though? Why would you pay money to fucking support a fucking rape apologist if you were fucking one?
I never heard him say anything else.
Well, it's.
You have a ticket?
Yeah, you should be proud of yourself. These are fucking men that are going to rape your sisters and women in your life. You should be ashamed.
That was a mental health awareness sort of event from some college in Canada, but here's the description of what the talk was. says, throughout the industrialized world, our sons are about a quarter century behind our daughters, dropping out of school, preoccupied with video games and video porn, committing suicide, and demonstrating a, quote, failure to launch. But those are just the symptoms. How deep is the crisis? What are its causes? What paradigm shift is needed to transform the boy crisis into our sons' opportunities? Dr. Farrell's presentation will invite the entire audience's participation. Basically talking about men's state of affairs in society today. And that was feminists, quote, equality for all, showing out the most incredible display of tolerance. That's a
Okay, so I have one more clip, and then I'll get to my point of what this video is about.
It all out there.
Let me make sure it's on the right time. 29. So I promise there's a reason why I'm stringing these together. Bear with me. Last clip, and then I'll get to my point.
And here's the deal with this guy, okay? He was bullied for his stutter, for wearing black eyeliner. The suspected Uvalde, Texas school person has been bullied for wearing black eyeliner and having a stutter. He was identified by officials as the suspect who ended 19 lives, and who has ended then himself. He was identified by one of his friends, and they were told that he posted a picture of himself on social media wearing eyeliner. He faced an array of harsh comments. Now, again, I'm not saying the harsh comments are fair. If this young man wants to do it, let him do it. But let's face it, bullying is a part of life. I was bullied a lot as a young man. I was short. I was skinny. At least my first couple of years of high school till I got into sports. I never thought about my feelings got hurt, yes, but I never felt about lashing out at people. Why? Because I had a father and a mother, and both of them were very loving and were there for me. And I could go home and say, I'm kind of ticked off or sad or angry or whatever because this happened. And I had a father that said, let's go out and toss the ball. We'll talk about it. And after that talk with my father, I felt okay I felt better about things. I felt somebody understood me and had my back. He didn't have that. So, do I blame him for what he did? Yes. Do I blame him for the condition he was in to where he felt like he had to do that? No, that's partially yes, but a lot of it is society and not caring for him. Do we really have a problem with angry young men, or do we have a problem with a society that is angry at young men, that craps on young men, that shits on them, that gives them a hard time? The Washington Post also spoke to other friends and family members who said that he faced more bullying in middle school for speaking with a stutter. He would get bullied hard, bullied by a lot of people.
Okay.
Over social media, over gaming.
So I'm going to pause that there, and I'm going to go ahead and get to my point. So, why did I string those videos together specifically? This isn't going to be like my normal content that I usually show. I do have notes I'm reading from. Because this shooting isn't the first shooting that's happened, and it's not, probably going to be the last for a while. There's a problem, it goes beyond video games or even guns. So I remember losing interest in like The Simpsons and Family Guy when I was around 14. The way that men are portrayed was less than funny and more insulting. There were other TV shows that portray men as weak and stupid. Now, I never really got into some of the other mainstream TV shows, but I do remember that in the anime on Toonami in the early 2000s, seemed way more interesting. If I could choose a reality between, a reality, if I could choose a fantasy to participate in, to pretend along with, I would rather be part of a Samurai Jack or a Cowboy Bebop than to be a Family Guy or Homer Simpson person. And it's just, one was naturally way more appealing, and the other one is just insulting. And even as a kid, 14, 15 years old, I was picking up on that. Society has forced many men of any age and race to feel helpless. I have here, anger is just oppression with enthusiasm. I've seen that quote, and I think there is some truth behind that. I don't think it's a coincidence that it's been men doing the shooting at the same rate that the idea of toxic masculinity, I can't pronounce it, has become more popular. The only toxic masculinity is men repressing their emotions and thoughts. So the inability to express themselves freely. It is easy to cry, video games are too violent, or we need more gun control. The common denominator is a lack of health care, not health care, but health and care, and the consistent burn of how men are awful and dumb. Like, I've been suicidal before, and I will also put a link on there. It's my Christianity to Luciferianism, but I'm not doing this as a promotion to Luciferianism. I am saying, though, that in that video I did explain the emotions of I was feeling both homicidal and suicidal. So I can say for sure, like, I've been down this road, and I went through phases of suicide and homicide feelings. It wasn't video games or music that I had on my mind. It was a lack of place to fit in, both family and in society. Isolation and loneliness are the most dangerous places to push any animal. It only leaves two choices: retaliate or die. The only difference is the fleeting emotion: anger at yourself or anger at the world. While you can't stop bullying, giving both young men and men in general a place to talk and to be heard is at least the first step in the right direction. Actions speak louder than words. So my question would be, how long have these people that do this shooting, I'm not for shooting, I don't think that's a good excuse for anything. There's no reason to take people's lives. But I do have to ask, if I was a therapist, this is how I would look at it. How long have those people been crying for help in silence before they felt that that action was the only option left for them to be heard? And what does that action actually say? I think that these, shootings is a level of frustration that goes far deeper than video games or music. There's a problem with society, and men have become the punchline, and it's showing up. It took about 10 years, 12 years for it to happen, but I think, this is just my opinion, but I think that's what's happening in society. And the only way to start changing the amount of fucking shootings and whatnot is to start paying attention to what, just men's problems. Because, I'm not saying to take away from women's issues or any other issues, but the lack of men being heard is having an effect. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I've been observing in pattern. Not just through manosphere channels. This is through my own observation, through my own life as well. So, just wanted to throw that out there. And if anybody agrees with this message, please share and subscribe.